Hi, my name is Dee. I live in Seattle, and this is Etsy Shop Audits.
Is there a reason why you limited the inventory?
Being new at this,
Mhm.
I've seen you guys say several times, you'll go to different people and listen to different podcasts or
Yep.
whatever, and they tell you different analogies of making people want to buy your stuff.
Sure,
So
sure.
some particular products, depending on how they sell, I just put them at a lower inventory to see if people would grab them.
All right, Dee, welcome. And we are going to be diving into your shop. And the shop name is Pura Vita. Vita? Is it Vita?
Yeah, Pure Vita.
Pure Vita. Okay. Essentials. And you said in your intake that it meant pure life, which is
Yes.
awesome. Shop age 9 months old. The niche is beach lovers, travelers, and surfers. Sticking point conversion rate, and then total revenue is in that 9 months is $2,170.87. The income goal, I put question marks because you didn't really give us one. It just basically said to stand out, and then it said minimalist style gifts. So I do want to know, what is the revenue goal? Is there an income goal for you in the next 12 months?
In the next 12 months, I'd like to make about, anywhere from about $5,000 to $7,000 a month, at least. That would
Okay.
be me seeing a growth, especially with the shop being, for me, considering 9 months not being open that long.
Okay.
So a realistic goal for me would be anywhere between that $5,000 to $7,000 a month.
Okay. Okay. So, and like right now, let me ask you this. So total revenue is 2,170. What is your monthly now?
Now my monthly is, well, in this year so far, I've only made, well, I've made 604
Okay.
in the month of January and February.
Okay. So, and the reason why I'm bringing that up is because right now, number one, it's probably the slowest that it will be
Mm-hmm.
throughout the entire year. So, are you talking that you want the average to be the let's call it 5 to 7, 7 to 10, somewhere in that range? You want the average, because Q4 could make up for a lot of that.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I seen the boom.
Okay.
I took full advantage of it with ornaments and
Okay.
holiday items, come the holiday. So I seen the difference in Q4. But yeah, for an average to be 5 to 7 thousand a month, that would again at this point make me feel like there's some type of growth with the shop.
Okay, cool. All right, awesome. So, the one thing I do want to dig into is, and we're gonna dig really deep into this, is like who you're targeting and what type of products that we're selling right now. Because
Mm-hmm.
here I see beach lovers, travelers, and surfers. Okay. But I also see minimalist style gifts. So there's some there's
Yeah.
some differences there, right? Like, so I'm
Right.
trying to think to myself, like, it's still, yes, at least you're calling these people out.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, what and who are we, or who and what I should say, are
Yeah.
we targeting? And
Well,
who are we going after?
if
So
I could, with that,
yeah.
it's so anyone that's been to Costa Rica, they've heard of the Pure Vita spirit. And it's kind of like an aloha. It's a hi, it's a bye, it's a welcome, it's love. And so Pure Vita is more of a saying, it's a feeling when you go to Costa Rica. And so I really wanted to grab those that have been to Costa Rica before, that are going to Costa Rica, bachelorette parties, families, weddings, I learned about the Pure Vita spirit on vacation, needing some me time, and loved it. Have been back several times since. So that's who I was going for, but didn't know how to put it in one space. So you think of Costa Rica as jungles, it's beach. People go to these beaches to surf. So that's where I got the idea of beaches and surfer. But my highest leading product is a piece of wall art.
Okay. So why don't we do that, Chris? Why don't we bring up the shop and then we can kind of dig in? And is that wall art, and we'll see here in a minute, but is that wall
Mhm.
art inspired by, you know, the Costa Rica life feeling vacation?
Yes. Yes. So it brings up the wall art in itself is the definition of the of Pure Vita. my personal definition of Pure Vita and what it means. And just living life simple. I created it for myself. I put it in my bathroom, gave it to a best friend, and then decided to throw it on Etsy in a completely different shop. And that's when my sales went off. That's when I seen a difference, because in the other shop, I had only had 2 sales, and that shop was open for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
And so then I decided to take this piece of wall art and put it in its own shop. And that's how Pure Vita Essentials Co. was born, was with this one piece of wall art that didn't match the other store at all. And so I took this idea and just kind of ran with it.
Chris, can you pull up the actual listing so we can see it?
D, is it this one? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, that's one of them.
So the question that I have on this, D, is I think we can go a couple different ways with this, but from what I'm hearing from you, it's not about necessarily the surfing side of it. It's not even about going to the beach. It is about the spirit side of this and what Costa Rica represents. And I think if we go after that, that is a good potential sub niche. We don't have to try to appeal to every surfer. We are going to pick up some of those people who know the phrase, who know and have their own interpretation of it that they can identify with your stuff. But we don't necessarily have to try to appeal to all of those people. Who we're trying to appeal to is the people who identify with the sensation, right? With the Pura Vida lifestyle, and trying to focus the products around that. And I think if we do that, then we can kind of niche that down and solve that, that conflict that Scott had when we were looking at that overview slide of like, well, is it gifts? Is it this? Is it that? It's really about the lifestyle side of this. And obviously we're going to include some Costa Rican things in here just because that's part of it. But I think that may be an interesting way to start to kind of clear out some of the trying to catch everybody that's come to Costa Rica or heard of Costa Rica.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, D. So right here, I'm seeing one thing, only 8 left and 2 in carts. Is there a reason why you limited the inventory?
Well, I want to, being new at this, I've seen you guys say several times, you know, you'll go to different people and listen to different podcasts or whatever, and they tell you different analogies of making people want to buy your stuff. So some particular products, depending on how they sell, I just put them at a lower inventory to see if people would grab at the item. I don't know if that was a good way of doing it or a bad way of doing it, but that's why I'm here.
We've done that and we didn't see much of a difference. The only thing is, I will say,
I don't either.
The one thing I will say is we stopped doing it a long time ago. I get the idea. I get the concept. The problem is Etsy can actually look at that as low inventory and then not give you as much exposure.
Got you.
Right. Because now they're thinking, well, if I give them a whole bunch of traffic and they can't handle it, they're going to run out of inventory, and that's not going to make people happy. Right. So I personally, I did away with that probably 2 years ago. Like we haven't done that since. So I think the sale, running a sale is more important than leaving the inventory out. So Chris, if you go back, is there any sale being run on any of these right now on this product?
Hey, real quick, I wanted to give you a little behind the scenes on how these Etsy shop audits even happen. Every single month, Chris Schaefer and I, we meet and we batch record 3 to 4 of these episodes. Then they get edited and they get posted like the one you're watching right now. But what we decided to do is create what we call our Backstage Pass Club. This is where all of our club members, they get to join us on that recording as we're doing it live. The other cool thing is you're able to ask questions, and you also can get access to the recordings before they ever air, immediately, raw and unedited. You even get all the questions that were asked that you might have missed because, well, maybe you couldn't attend that one live. So if you'd like to be part of our Backstage Pass Club and join our next batch recording session, head on over to brandcreators.com/club or click the link in the description. Now let's get back to the audit.
No, so I don't see any sale. So you'd have, to me, you'd have
last weekend there was, but yeah, I do try to run sales specifically on specific items like wall art or maybe the beach items.
Right. And then, so the 10 plus, is that another strategy that you picked up, that you put something in at that thing? And then,
well, that's due to size. That's due to
Okay.
size. So the
Can
10
I buy
plus is,
something that's $10?
Yes.
yes,
It's a
one of
4
them
by
is
6.
$10. It's the smallest item.
Okay. Do you sell any that are at 10? I'm wondering. I'm just curious.
I have sold a few.
Okay. Okay. So the other thing is, so I like this and I like the direction that we're going. And then I'm looking down there at that one review. Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate your purchase. Okay. That was you. So cute. Okay. So cute for our rental house.
That's what stood out to me there, because if
Yeah,
we're
the
talking about
customer
the spirit side of this,
Mhm.
everybody in Costa Rica that has an Airbnb that's not Costa Rican, right? All of the expats that live there, they're going to be looking for cute Costa Rica feeling stuff. And
Mhm.
quite frankly, you're not going to find a lot of English things in Costa Rica typically. And so they're going to be looking on Etsy. They're going to be looking on Amazon for that decoration stuff. And we have a potential sub niche right here that we can target with a handful of these things that are really nice design pieces that represent the spirit side of Costa Rica.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Now, again, I haven't done the research. I don't know if there's enough product demand to only go after Costa Rica. Like, I don't know. But I do know that if someone is into Costa Rica or tropical or something, that might be the angle, right? So it's more, it's home decor, but yet it's home decor, tropical / destination, right? Like that could be something that I could see possibly working. Because I mean, yeah, this is a very simple piece, but it's a very nice piece. And I could see for sure that you're going to sell some of these, but it's like, okay, how do you get more of the market, than just being like Costa Rica in there.
Mhm.
And I think that's where I would then start to kind of, like, you have in there Costa Rica in the title. What if you had other ones that were targeting other destinations, with a very similar concept, right? You have this tagline, like, Hawaii would be different, right? Like, so you have a completely different one for Hawaii. And then in your title, you have Hawaii, right? So now we target those people. And I do think maybe just, going after people that are vacationers, people that are maybe, they just love tropical vacations, right? The tropical vacation lover, like something like that. I do think there's something here. My only concern is there enough demand for products specifically for Costa Rica?
Gotcha.
Well, and I think that's part of the reason, Scott, I asked the question a few minutes ago about, is it about Costa Rica? Is it about the surfers, or is it about the spirit angle of this? And D, what you said to me was that the reason you identified so hard with this is that it really is about the definition that you have on that piece of art, right?
Totally.
On that wall art. And I think a lot of people will identify with that, right? Some people might call it minimalist. Some people might call it whatever else. But that really is, you can create a bunch of products for the person who identifies with that feeling. We would just have to figure out what the name is for it, because they might not necessarily know the Costa Rica reference, right? But they'll see it and they identify with it. They go, that's my style. I'm all about living a peaceful life, simple and uncluttered. I have a deep appreciation of nature, family, and friends, a real living that reflects happiness, well-being, and satisfaction, right? And there's something there that we can probably pull a niche out if you're really into the design side of this. And I don't even think we'd necessarily have to change the name or do anything there, because that is the story behind how you came to that realization.
Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha.
So I think there's something there. I'm not sure exactly what that is. And maybe our Backstage Pass members or the people watching this later in the comments can help us out with defining that a little bit. But I definitely think there's something there that would be much more broad appeal than keeping it Costa Rica specific. If we're going after the sensation and we can figure out a way to turn that into a niche, whether it's a design style or something like that, then we can have a much more exponential level of success.
Yeah. I think, like you just said, Chris, I think going after Costa Rica is its own sub niche. And then I think you have those other ones, like I said, like maybe there's Hawaii, is another one. And then there's another destination. Then I also think then there's probably another another area that you could explore that would be decorating with a tropical feel. You know what I mean? Like, and then that means that someone's like, oh, we're going to do our beach house, and we're going to do over our family room, and we're going to need some art, and we're going to need some, you know, some decorational pieces that could be there. That's not so much more of a gift giving side of things. So I would also want to think, how do we turn something into a gift giving thing? Because we know Etsy is really leaning into gifts, right? So then it might be, okay, maybe there's a couple's gift that you could create for when they go to Costa Rica. Maybe they had their wedding in Costa Rica. Now we're tapping into the wedding market, right?
Well, I do
that's
have
kinda where my
blankets
mind's
that have
going.
done well, and I, you know, because they are print on demand, I'm able to customize them. So
Mm,
I've been able to customize them with a husband and wife's name. The day they got married,
perfect.
I had a lady say she gifted that to her daughter and her son-in-law. The stemware, glassware, I've had people purchase those in sets of 12, so those have done really well.
Mm,
I've changed up that particular piece of artwork just to be the logo only, and also to have the definition. I didn't know if there's a such thing as oversaturation with that piece of artwork. So I've basically taken that piece of artwork and put it on a couple of different backgrounds. I've made a couple of different logos, but I hear what you guys are saying as far as going outside of Costa Rica.
mhm.
Just with what I currently have, it is pretty boxed in when it
Mm,
comes to Pure Vita. I don't know if anybody else would relate to that if
mm,
that's not what they're looking for.
yeah. Well,
But I think, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, I still think like you can play there. It's just
Mhm.
like you said, you're boxed in. That's fine. You could dominate being the one that specializes in that, right? But how do you get to your $7,000 a month? I don't know.
Right.
Like, that might be hard.
Gotcha.
So now we have to start going outside of that, but still we want it to be related. And that's where I
Yeah.
came in with like wedding destinations that are tropical. Well, now we can create some things for those, or a beach wedding, right? Now it's a beach wedding.
Mhm.
Okay. So now we're starting to play there. You already kind of know, like, okay, if I do a nice saying that's related to the destination, and then we have a little quote with it, that sells because it does well in Costa Rica. Well, how can we adapt that to this area? And how can we bolt on it being for a wedding? Right. So that's kind of where my mind's going, is like, that's how I think you're going to get to the numbers, is you have to tap into a bigger market, but still niche down in that market. If that makes sense, like wedding, and then bolting on your kind of like your format of minimalist, but yet having a saying, or a, you know, like a word that represents it, and then with a quote of some kind that they would hang as a memory, and then you would maybe personalize that for their wedding. Like, you know, I
Gotcha.
think
So
that,
completely creating something completely different, basically, for that particular sub niche.
yep, but taking your template in a sense and applying that to it, because you've already kind of done, like, you got the word, and then you've
Gotcha.
got, yeah, and then just kind of using
Okay.
that as a template.
Scott, what are your thoughts on taking this in a travel direction? So, if it's not all about, like, if you don't want to make a store about design that follows the, you know, the spirit, then the other way we could do this is to take this up to like a travel niche and make all of these sub niches. So anybody that's looking for Pura Vida is going to be looking specifically for that because they've been to Costa Rica, or they understand Costa Rica. You mentioned a couple minutes ago the Aloha spirit, right? That's a whole other sub niche that you could
Right.
add into the store. And
Bingo.
you can
Got
keep
it.
you could probably even keep the name in the story, because it's like, look,
Yeah.
I started to find out, I live in Seattle. Like, the only thing we do is sit inside because it rains all the time. I know that's not true, but most days. And so when I found out that other people live this way, it inspired me to go find all of these things. I'm sure there's something for Fiji, right? Thailand has their own like country level ethos. Hawaii, right? Like all of these different places. And we could potentially take that same style where we are looking at, right, the definition of the style, or the name of, you know, the thing, their lifestyle, and then the definition of that. And I think we could roll out some really interesting products in a bunch of different destinations, if that's what we want to do, that follow this same design style that you already have here. Scott, what are your thoughts on kind of rolling that up into more of a travel? Does that work, or is that too many moving parts?
I think it does, but I wouldn't, like you said, I'd leave the name. I think the name's great, right? And it's your story. And then I think you could, I just wouldn't want the store to be just travel, because I want, yes, you could, and then add your wedding stuff in, but I still would want it to be like, it's about the destination that you want to bring back with you. That's kind of how I'm seeing it, right?
Mhm.
Like if you went to Hawaii, you want to bring that back because you're not living in Hawaii, right? Like,
Right.
or if you're going into an Airbnb and, you know, you want it to be beachy, you want to know that it's beachy, right? Like you want to have the feeling.
Right.
It's about the feeling it's bringing to you. So I look at it that way. And then I think just tapping into the weddings, I wouldn't want it to just be like, oh, this is a travel shop. It's like, no, it's, you know, a destination bringing the feeling and keeping the memory about that place. And I think that works. So yes, I agree, Chris, we could go into the travel side, but I wouldn't make it where you walk into the store and you're like, oh, this is a travel shop. Right.
No, and I think it is about the feeling, right, that you get from that place. And I'm calling that travel because I don't know what the actual name of that niche would be, but it really is, it's got like the travel memories thing. And I know we've talked about that before, but I think that potentially is a really cool way where you could take this and grow this exponentially, right? You look at something like even just phrases that are representative of the country. Like obviously Pura Vida is the Costa Rican thing, right? But every country has one.
They do.
Right?
Yeah.
Like every, especially travel destinations, they all seem to have some sort of an ethos. And if you can capture that ethos from that country and bring that back as a way for people to remember those things or to get in advance. And that's probably what's happening with like the bachelorette parties buying a bunch of the stemware, right? They're like, we're going to the beach. We want to feel as tropical as possible. So we're going to bring this with us, even though we're going to Ocean City, Maryland, right? Whatever it is, we want to create that sensation for people wherever they are. And I think even just using the similar style to what you have here, there's a huge possibility for you to do that.
Yeah. So before we move on, I just want to say, like, I think the stuff that you're offering is great. I like that. I love these glass. I think that's perfect. You know, I think, and you've got it filled, you know, so it kind of gives you that feeling. Yeah, you got some towels, you know, like in those things. So I think that's great. You've got that on the beach, you know, so you got that down right. Right. So now I think it's just about like taking your template in a sense and starting to apply that to other things, you know, that are still related, but yet in different areas or, you know, different destinations. I think, I mean, that would be probably where I would focus and spend my time. Chris, can you click on the listing just so we can kind of even just look at the listing, look at optimization, images, all that stuff? Okay. So on this one here, go to another image too, Chris. Just kind of scroll through. Now, is this flat or is this a canvas?
So that particular one is just a poster. I do one of my best sellers now is the canvas, and that has images where it shows you the back of the canvas, the full canvas, that it gives you the dimension of it. Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I'd want to make sure. Yeah, okay, perfect. Yeah,
so I think just looking at this one, the only thing that stands out to me, that other one was all lifestyle photos. This one has no lifestyle photos.
Yeah.
So if we can include a few of those kinds of things, like
I would do that
in a room, that would go a long way with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like even your main image, I would make it so it's like it's got more life to it, and it's like it's hung, but yet it's still close. Like maybe you see it like a, you know, below it is some type of like wooden table that you would see just the top of it with maybe like a plant over on the one side. Like you've seen them before on the mock-ups. I would do something like that it looks like it's actually in the room. It's hard with a picture because you want the picture to be close up, but in the same breath, we want to see some life to it. And I think just here is just like your standard, like here it is, drop shadow canvas.
Right.
So I'd still keep this picture. I just would not make this the main image.
Okay.
So yeah, I think just updating that, I think, and then I think probably adding as many images that you can that show like just a different view of the picture just to fill up your image spots. I think I would do. And then I'm just looking stretch canvas, wall art, wall poster, Costa Rica, Vita poster, housewarming, wedding gift. Okay. Yeah. And that's what I would probably want to lean into is like, okay, what are most people searching for? This. And so I would want to make sure that I'm leaning into that, not necessarily, well, in this case, that is something that's well known. So that is something that I would probably say is.
I think if the ethos or somebody on the backstage just said the ambiance of the place that we're talking about has a name, like the Aloha spirit or whatever, that's obviously going to be our big keyword. And then we just have to figure out how to include the other things. And I think I would probably rewrite this title, Scott, and I want your opinion on this, in a little bit more of a sentence format to say something like Pura Vida stretched canvas wall art to capture the Costa Rican spirit, or that captures the Costa Rican spirit, and see if that fits in the 60 character, the first 60 characters, because that's going to be what Etsy weights the most. So then we're getting like, oh, Costa Rica spirit, which is something people are going to type in because they might not remember what the phrase is, right? And then we can include, makes great housewarming, wedding gift, whatever, and include some of those other keywords right on the back end of that. But I think if we explain exactly what it represents in the title, then people are going to understand that more. It's going to increase our click-through rate. It's going to increase the ability for us to show up in search. And it's obviously going to increase our conversion rate because they know exactly what it is even before they get to the listing.
Yeah. Yeah. I like all that. Chris, can you just scroll down a little bit too? We just look at the rest of the listing. Yeah, again, this is just something that I generally do because I'm more of a scanner when I'm reading, is I would break up that block of text so it's easier to read. So just like chunk it, maybe like 4 lines.
In the description?
Yeah. 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 I would just block that out. So that way there it's easier to scan.
The other thing that I see here, and this is pretty common, we're using the product description here mostly to describe the thing that's being printed on, but not the rest of the product. So the only place where we've taken advantage of keywords right now, and again, maybe in your tags, right? But this description is a huge place where we can include exactly what the product is, why it exists, why somebody would put it in their house, and then what it's made of. This is not a you thing, D. This is something 99.9% of sellers do. And it's not that it's wrong. It's just not optimal. If we can give them a way to answer a few questions about it, we can give them the feeling, and we can't really do that in the title, but we can do that in the description of, this is what it will mean for you. This is what it means in your house. This is why this product exists. And even talk about a little bit of the story potentially behind the saying in the description. That'll go a long way to starting to increase that conversion rate. And it's a super sneaky way of just getting some extra keywords in that random people might type in without us having to try to stuff every possible thing into the title.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. I like all that. All right. Yeah. I mean, I think everything that you have here is looking good. I do just think that, we have to broaden this out a little bit. And I think, kind of take what you've already done and then adapt that to other locations, like we said. Any other questions or things that you want a little bit of insight on, or are you good? You think you can
just really quickly in regards to funds towards ads, I guess. Are you supposed to, is it good to fund all of your products, or do you fund the ones that are the best sellers?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what I would probably do is I would look at what are the products that you have that have the most demand. If we're looking at like let's just say, for example, people are searching for Costa Rica home decor, right? I'm not sure if they are. It might be tropical home decor. Maybe that's the thing. But you have to find the products that you have currently that are that allow you to have more opportunity for that, what people are searching for. Those are the ones that I would target, because then I'm going to take all my budget and I'm going to put towards those. And then from there, when those people come into the shop, they're going to see everything else, right? They're going to come into the listing, but then they're most likely, if they're interested in your stuff, they're going to go into your shop. And we've seen a lot of people that go through our shop. So that's kind of where I would start. Now, you created this product for yourself, and it just happened that you're starting to get some sales, which is great. But I think you also need to do some research, some product research, to find a product that meets the criteria that we just talked about: destination, certain type of maybe, saying, or, type of product. And then from there, you're doing the research there. So those could be the products that you're going to launch next. And then you would advertise those. So I'm a fan of taking products that have demand, finding those products that have the demand, and then using them as the leader to get people into your shop. And then they can see all of the other things that you have to offer.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I would want to do that. And maybe even you're going to just do that on your shop, like right now, like do that on your existing products. But if you're running Etsy ads, you can kind of already see that in the back end. You can go, oh, that's getting, 1,000 views, and you're like, cool. So it must be in demand, right? Even if you're not getting sales, you can still see. And then if you do launch a product and you want to go ahead and launch it because you've done the research, and there is products out there that are selling that are similar to it, then those are the ones that, yes, I would aggressively be using Etsy ads. And I'd also be pricing it aggressively. That's where I would almost go at a break-even point in the very beginning, because I want to spike those sales. So that's kind of how I look at Etsy ads. I'm a little bit more aggressive, even if it's $2 a day aggressive, I'm going to be taking that money and allocating it, to those products that I know have the most demand. Gotcha.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yes, it does.
All right. So what is your plan? I guess now that we're all kind of like done through with the audit, we see we've got some potential, we've got some areas to explore. What's the next steps for you over the next, let's say, 4 to 6 weeks?
I'm going to do some research and look into other countries and find out what their ecosystem and culture encompasses and what makes them feel good. And one by one, but try to expand on different countries and see if I can get anybody, if I can get any sales with, like you said, the same format, but different sayings, and bring that spirit to other countries.
I like that. I think that's a great strategy. And I think, and I think you're going to see that you're going to be opening up more opportunity, right? So you're not just in that, like you said, boxed in. That was what you used as for your words. And I agree with you. So I think this is going to give you some freedom to be able to explore, but still be in that, bringing in some memories, some feelings, and being able to keep those close to you.
Yeah, I had never thought about that. And I've been to Hawaii, and I've been to Jamaica, and I've been to other places. So that to think of bringing that type of spirit in these same types of gifts makes sense. And I didn't think about that before. I was kind of locked in.
Yeah, I like it. Well, sometimes you're so deep in the weeds, you got to kind of get pulled out. And we get 10,000 foot above, and we go, see over there, you could have walked over there. It's like we all do it. But it's cool. And I can kind of see already on your face, it's kind of exciting now, because it's like, you can still do what you love. Like you like these different destinations, and you've been to a lot of different destinations. So to bring that back to you and be able to share that with other people, I think is pretty awesome as well. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And I was a little nervous that one piece of art was going to be burned out, but now I'm excited to create, new pieces of art with different countries and see, where it goes. Awesome.
All right. Well, hey, thank you so much for being brave and coming on here and being in person. We really appreciate it. And keep us posted. And we'd love to, hear how you're doing the next, few months.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys.
So that's a wrap for this Etsy shop audit. But if you want to watch more, well, you can find some more right here. And if you do, well, I'll see you there.